The plot thickens. The mystery continues. Only murders in the building. So season 2 of Murders on the Building, we've talked already about the previous 2 episodes that were released last week. Check out that video if you haven't already. And if you're not caught up, spoilers are ahead. I'm sorry, you know the deal. So make sure you're subscribed, notification bell on so you know when these videos drops, because we're going to be talking theories tomorrow about who could be the killer possibly. We'll brush up on it a bit today because we did have an episode that gave us a new primary suspect. So let's get right into it. So as we know, this season basically is dealing around with what happened to Bunny Folger. So pretty much we know that Bunny was murdered the night when Mabel found her in her apartment, and the knitting needle that Mabel used was used as a weapon, as well as a knife that's missing. So this episode very much so gives us those final moments of Bunny before she was ultimately murdered, and we see Bunny sort of having this retirement party at a point, and she's basically thinking of moving to Florida and leaving her position as a board president for the building. So Bunny's kind of having a dilemma here. She really doesn't know where her life is headed to next, and she's planning on just leaving and starting something new, but at the same time she feels that she should stay and continue going on as board president, and this causes some friction from the one who was going to become the new board president, Nina. So there's a lot of things happening here moving at once, and so we see that Bunny is sort of trying to make amends now. So we see that Mabel by the end of the episode is trying to make amends with Charles, Mabel, and Oliver, even going as far as bringing them a bottle of champagne as they're celebrating and sort of thanking them for what they did, solving the mystery and all of that. Of course, Charles, Mabel, and Oliver haven't really had the best experiences with Bunny, so they're not really sure what to make of it, and they don't even invite her in when she brings the champagne, which kind of breaks her a little bit, and she starts sobbing and crying, but ultimately she goes to her own apartment and then decide to move the party elsewhere. So we also, before this all happened, saw her give her regular waiter Ivan some money as sort of a parting gift, and she went to the retirement party that was thrown for her, and that's where she pretty much got into it with Nina, because Nina was really wanting to take this new position, and we find out that the position was actually just inherited to Bunny. She didn't really work for it at all. It was her mother who had it before her, and then she got it afterwards. So Nina's kind of throwing this in the face of Bunny, that you're kind of selfish about all of this because you had already said this and we planned all of this. So yeah, otherwise this party was a disaster and pretty much ends on a bad note. So that's when Bunny goes to give the champagne to Charles, Mabel, and Oliver, but as I said, she's not really invited, and she goes back to her own apartment. So this is where we see the killer come into focus, as we see the boots, and we don't really see much of the killer. It looks like they're wearing a ski mask when they enter Bunny's apartment and ultimately kill her, and then we see the scene where Mabel finds Bunny dead, and that's how this episode ended right here. So pretty much we have a new suspect after this episode ends, and that's Nina, who seems to have gotten into it with Bunny due to this whole thing with the board president and everything, and I feel like things were never gonna end easy here. And of course Bunny doesn't make it easy, especially the way how she acts and all of that. So I think that we definitely see some motive here from Nina to want to kill Bunny, but we're not too sure exactly if that motive is going to be the whole reason we see this whole thing happen, right? So I feel like I don't really trust the show, not in a bad way, but they really like to lead us off. So I definitely could see a scenario where maybe this isn't the killer and they're just trying to throw us off a lead of who actually is the killer, right? So I think we could see something where it was sort of a red herring of sorts, this whole fight, and maybe Nina didn't have anything to do with it. So they didn't show the killer's full body because of course Nina is pregnant, so we would be able to see if the killer was pregnant or not. So I really think that that was so intentional of them hiding that and just showing us the legs. Of course, I still believe there are some other suspects here who would want Bunny as well to be out of the picture, because Bunny, as you can see from this episode, had a lot of enemies. Well, not really enemies, but people who didn't really like her and would have wanted her to leave, and maybe finding out she wasn't leaving maybe did a reason or had a reason to do what they did, right? So I think there's still a ton of suspects, and I'm going to go down all the suspects in tomorrow's video, so stay tuned for that. But I think this episode was great. But I think this episode honestly was really good. It was very sad, honestly, when you really think about it, because Bunny seemed to never really be understood, I feel. And by the end of it, she was trying to be more understanding and try and be sort of more likable of sorts. But of course, that was her final night, and it kind of got me a little sad there for her as well. So one of the big things that happened in the previous episode was the bird said, "I know who did it," but we find out by the end of the episode that that bird was just hearing someone on TV say that, so the bird doesn't really know who did it. And I was about to say, how does this bird gonna say something that it didn't even hear, right? Also, Bunny knows the killer because they weren't shocked or surprised when they saw the killer. They were just pretty much like, "What do you want?" So we know it's somebody she knows, and it could be the cast fans as well. The fans pretty much seem to not really like Bunny at all, and I think we could definitely see a thing where a fan turned kind of crazy and is trying, as I said before, for the show to keep going on. And you can't have a murder podcast go on if there's no more murders. So I think that could be a possibility we could see, and a very interesting one, especially with parasocial situations that we see where people become obsessed with celebrities and influencers and all of that. I think the whole thing surrounding that would be an interesting thing to discuss, and I think the show could do that if it wants to go that route, or it could do Nina as well, or maybe somebody else in the apartment who has something against Bunny. Next week we'll probably reach the halfway point. I think it's 8 episodes length, so we'll probably get something that really turns the case and we find out a little bit more of it. So definitely make sure you subscribe, notification bell on to know when that video drops. But let me know your thoughts and your opinions about who do you think murdered Bunny, and what do you think is going to be the resolution at the end. As always, we are on the road to 25,000 subscribers. We'll do a giveaway, and currently we're about to hit 22,000, less than 100 to go for that, so I'm super pumped for that. Stranger Things videos are up today, and we'll have some more tomorrow as well. Theories, all of that are going to be running crazy on the channel because there's a ton to talk about after that ending. But as always, that's going to do it for me. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive, my friends.